So I've been preparing for this talk for like 4 days, ever since I uh, I volunteered to do it. And finally today I really sat down and decided I was going to do something about it. And I wrote some things in a notebook, took some notes, practiced speaking, practiced in front of a tape recorder, or this thing. It's not a tape recorder, but a recording device. And I spoke for maybe an hour, and I didn't finish a single story that I started. I drifted off onto these tangents, or I just got lost and couldn't remember where I was. And I'm telling you this because if that happens in front of a tape recorder, recording device, then it's possible that it might happen in front of you all. Which I consider actually a great gift to each and every one of you. The chance to enter into my world and experience what it's like to have the thoughts that I have. And I am, on some level, entering into all of your worlds as well. Simply because you're here and I can see you and I can hear you. So, so about 3 weeks and 3 years ago, give or take a couple of weeks, I was a student in Mexico on a study abroad program in Guanajuato. And one morning I woke up and didn't really feel like going to class. So I went into my friend's room right next door, got on his computer and got on Facebook. And there's a message for me. It said, "Jacob, call your mom and your sister as soon as possible." So I did that. I went to an internet cafe. I walked there quickly. And in the internet cafes in Mexico, you can make international phone calls for very cheap. And I called my home phone number in Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas. And Jenny picked up. Jenny's my sister. And she said, "Hello?" And I said, "Hi, it's me. What's going on?" And she said in sort of a broken, shaky voice, "It's Dad. He had a heart attack." And I waited to find out more. She said, "He's gone." Just like that. Yeah. As far as I know, he was in great health. He was only 62 years old. He was not overweight. He ate healthy. He got exercise. It happened when he was taking the dog for a walk. Calvin is a mutt, and he's a very sweet dog and very disobedient dog, and the story goes that it was around 7 o'clock in the morning, around this time of year. I can imagine that it was blue outside as the sun was just beginning to rise. And they were walking along a street that's a hill and a paved gray road. And then a neighbor found my dad on the road, clutching Calvin's leash. And Calvin, who, as I said, is very sweet, and I've never seen him be aggressive towards any human being, at least not in an angry manner. Calvin was not letting anybody, in particular this neighbor, get near my dad. So, the neighbor called an ambulance, called 911, and they came and got Calvin away and started doing CPR. And they called my mom, she called my sister, they went to the hospital. And at that point they told my mom, well, we've been doing CPR for about an hour now, and there's really not anything else we can do, so we'd like to ask for your permission to stop and declare him dead. I was only 21 years old. I had no idea what I was doing with my life. In fact, my dad, who was 62 years old, he was just discovering that he loved to write. He wanted to be a writer. So for the past couple of years, he had been practicing his writing and sending it to family for feedback, and we'd send it back, and I'd tell him, well, yeah, I'd tell him what I told him. Something like, you sound like an angsty teenager, which was my way of acting like an angsty teenager. Just before he passed away, maybe 3 days, I had gotten an email from him just asking how I was doing, and I told him the truth, that I was not very happy. I was pretty depressed. And he suggested, why don't you find some place to do some volunteer work down there? I said, why? He said, happiness. And then 2 days later, that was it. He was gone. I remember when we were practicing these talks, the first couple of semesters in this program, I always got good feedback because all the residents here are really nice, and I often got the constructive feedback that I needed to actually make it obvious how whatever it was that I was talking about related to the practice, related to the meditation, which we just did. And even after getting that feedback, I didn't always do it. And I'm not sure that I'm going to do it now. But I might. Does anybody here know the story of Hafez? I mean, aside from the people that I told it to. Okay, good. Hafez. Some people here know who he is. Yeah. You don't, Margaret. Hafez, does anybody want to summarize this person? He was a poet, and he writes very beautiful poems. And he's from the Middle East, sort of a contemporary. I don't know if that's the right word, but similar to Rumi. He has a different style, but something is similar to Rumi. And the story of Hafez goes that he was working in some sort of store, maybe it was a cafe, and a woman walked in. And when she walked in, Hafez fell instantly in love. This was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. And he knew that this was all that he wanted, was to marry this girl. That was all he needed to be happy. He became totally obsessed, in fact. Did nothing but think about her again and again. He had only seen her once. So he went to a wise man and said, I don't know what to do. I'm in love with this girl. I've only seen her once. I don't know where to find her. I don't know if she likes me. What is it that I can do? How can I get her to marry me? How can I marry this girl? And the wise man said, you go to the desert and you draw a circle in the sand and sit in that circle. Don't leave that circle for 40 days and 40 nights. Don't eat anything. Don't sleep. And by the end of that period, you will get your desires. So Hafez did that. He drew a circle in the sand and stayed there. And something happened during those 40 days and 40 nights. If we want to relate to this story a little bit, something happened to us in the past hour. So after the 40 days and 40 nights, he got up from his seated position, and there in front of him was, this is the point where I stop, give an intermission, say, this is a story. It's not meant to make anybody angry, whether or not you believe that it's possible or not. Or, I don't know. You can get angry if you want, but it's still a story. So he got up, and there in front of him was the archangel, Gabriel. And Gabriel was so beautiful. Hafez totally forgot that person that he thought about once walked into the cafe, he did not care about her anymore. Here was beauty. This was something. And Gabriel, being an archangel of God, Hafez thought, if this is what an angel of God is like, then what is God like? And if you don't like the word God, you can replace it with pretty much anything, and the story still fits. You can say peace, or nirvana, or Buddha, or the floor. Hafez's deepest desire, now he knew, it was to know God. And so the archangel read his mind and sent him in the direction of a spiritual teacher who would show him the way to God. And Hafez went and met his teacher, and they studied and practiced together and lived together. And Hafez tried and tried and tried and failed and failed and failed, and his spiritual teacher didn't really care that much, or didn't seem to care that much. And Hafez wasn't a very patient man. He only did this for like 40 years before he got fed up and decided, enough of this guy. I'm gonna go find something that works, that will actually show me the way to God. So he left his teacher. And the only thing that he could do, the only thing that he had done before that actually worked, was to draw another circle in the sand. He drew another circle in the sand and sat down. And again, something happened. And at the end of 40 days and 40 nights, all he really wanted was to be with his teacher again. He just wanted to be with the person who cared for him the most. I think this is something that all of us can relate to. Somebody who really cares for us. So he went back to his teacher. And his teacher took him in, welcomed him, gave him a glass of wine, the story goes. And Hafez drank the wine, and at that moment he never was without any of his heart's desires. He was never apart from his teacher. He was never apart from God. He was never apart from the woman that he saw many years ago. So what happens in this practice? so that we learn to gain a sort of independence from needing things in order to make us happy. From needing a coherent Dharma talk, for example. Or well, anything, any number of things. But as a result of not needing other things in order to make us happy, we become vehicles of happiness for other people. Because we don't need to hurt anything anymore. We don't need to lie, we don't need to steal. We don't need to do anything that causes suffering in order to be happy. And why would we if we didn't need to? Why would we? Maybe ignorance. So, I thank you for being here and entering my world and allowing me to enter yours to whatever degree that's happened, and for entering each other's. And for doing this practice. This is what gets at the very root of the suffering in the world, of all the issues. And you don't have to take my word for it. I know some people don't like it when whoever's up here makes claims about things. But if you don't like it, then challenge it and prove me wrong and go look for yourself. The training that we do here, and the effects of that are something that I hope we all see for ourselves.